I think is interesting. They fell out of love with Trey Lance so freaking quick. To me, it makes me wonder, like, what did you see in him in the first place? Like, what drew you to him, and how could it have been so flimsy that you could be, drawn to someone else so quickly? So, I have a theory. I could go first. I'd like to hear your theories as well. My theory is that I don't think the Niners ever were truly in love with Trey. I feel like if you go back in time and remember the context, Jimmy was hurt in 2020. He missed a lot of time, and it almost felt like he shut himself down at the end of the season with a high ankle sprain. And I think Kyle was upset about it. I can't prove it. But I think trading up to number 3 was more about taking the team away from Jimmy and taking the title of franchise quarterback away from him than being in love with any one quarterback. I think he could have taken Mac Jones. He could have taken Trey Lance. It was more about moving on from Jimmy, which ended up taking the Niners years to do. But I think Kyle felt like handcuffed to him. And I don't think he wanted, and I think the fact that Jimmy wouldn't always play bothered him, like it bothers Martellus Bennett. That's my theory.
Yeah, because when did they make that trade? Like in a February, right? Or early March, they made that trade. And that's pretty much right before everything started. Was that before the combine, or was it pre or post combine? Actually, that trade was
there
made?
was no combine. There was no combine.
Right.
Remember, it was the pandemic. Yeah.
Duh.
Yes, it was a bad year to draft a quarterback.
It really is, because that whole class looks terrible aside from Trevor Lawrence. But I think I like that theory, because when they went up, it was like pretty much like, oh, we had an idea on one and we just wanted to trade up to get more ideas on other ones. Kind of like what the Panthers are doing right now. Like, get trading up. They pretty much said, oh, we don't know who we're getting. Wait, what? Wait, what? You're just spending all this.
You just don't want Sam Darnold, right? You just don't want Sam Darnold. So you moved up. You got rid of Sam. Yeah.
That's a hell of a way to run your business, but I mean, we'll see if it works out, because so far all these trade ups have not been working out. 49ers so far is trending that way, and teams in the past have not worked out. I really just think like Kyle was really cocky in thinking that this guy can be ready after just some gameplay, or he really thought that we could just sit him here. He really thought he could copy and paste the Chiefs game plan, and that's what was resonating with the fans. It's like, Are you like, I remember getting told, like, are you stupid? Like, they're trying to copy Alex Smith and Trey Lance, which I used to always go up to fellow Chiefs writers and be like, do you see this the same way? And they all thought that was completely nowhere near close. So I think it really was the arrogance and Kyle thinking like, we could just sit him for a year and somehow he'll magically figure out. But it's like, how? If you're going to sit him for a year, you got to somehow develop him on the side. But instead, again, you were using him as scout team and didn't really kickstart anything.
I think it's pretty clear, too, that Kyle Shanahan felt both Mac Jones and Trey Lance would succeed on the 49ers, that they were both good, and it didn't really matter who he picked. And I think when the Niners get to number 3 and they pick those guys like really high in the draft, they weigh like the kind of guy you are, like how you talk, how you present yourself, big time. And Trey Lance presents himself like he's 30. He's very mature. Also, his dad played for the 49ers for 2 weeks in training camp in 1994. Mike Shanahan was on that. So there's a connection. He's very mature, very well raised. Mac Jones doesn't really come across as super mature. When he talks, he doesn't come across as super articulate like every single person on the 49ers. Did you ever notice that every single player on the 49ers is very smart, very articulate, and can talk about football in depth when they want to?
They got
every single player.
Guys, Grant.
Every single player. So, I mean, I think that's a big reason why they got Trey, is the kind of guy he is. I mean, there's a big difference between him and Mac in terms of maturity. But I think Kyle felt like, and they'll both be good. My team's so good. Look at Jimmy. He's trash. I prop him up. It'll be easy. And I don't think he really understood the type of project he was getting in Trey. And I don't think he was the right coach for Trey in retrospect. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, the dude pretty much was like trying to make like some type of baked good. And it was like, oh, I just got to put it in the oven for 10 minutes. I'll be fine. And it's like, wait, it's still raw. I got an hour, 2 hours. What?
What? I don't have 2 hours. I'm hungry now.
The dude pretty much like kind of Gordon Ramsay's himself of bacon, or just of a quarterback development. Just like, all right, this kind of was not what I was expecting. We kind of messed up here.
Think about their first round picks, like Solomon Thomas, super well spoken, super articulate, very mature. Stanford. Nick Bosa grew up around football, can talk like about football like a coach. Mike McGlinchey, got that CEO mentality. You know what I mean? Talks like he's the general manager of the team. I mean, over and over and over again, Trey Lance. So, compare that to the kind of teams Jim Harbaugh had in 10 years ago. Those guys weren't necessarily the most talkative players. I mean, it was different, right?
A little different, a little more like vulgarity to that, because it was more acceptable too. So I think these guys, but like it does matter, especially when you're going for a high draft pick, and especially in the first round. Like you want high character guys. That needs to be a box that's always checked. It's why Jalen Carter's falling down, right? It's like no one's doubting his ability. It's like, what kind of guy is he? Like, you know, like, so, and that matters. If you're going to draft top 5, top 10, that needs to be checked. You can't roll the dice and be like, I can sacrifice that. Then all of a sudden you get Aldon Smith 2.0 for something.
Aldon Smith. You know. That's right. You got to remember, that's where the Niners came from back in the day. They really didn't take as much heed. They didn't really care about this as much. I don't know what you want to say. Yeah. But ever since John Lynch came here, it's been, I think, a priority for the Yorks. Like, we want to win with class. So you don't have a bunch of arrests. Charles Menahue got arrested. They didn't talk about it. Now he's gone. It's just not. I feel like the team has a personality. Trey Lance fits into it, at least publicly. The way he talks in press conferences is exactly the way they want their players talking.
I think Reuben Foster scared him away too after that first year, because remember he did have he got in an argument or a fight with the doctor or something like that, the Columbine or something like some type of drama that happened that's never been heard of before.
That's right. They sent him home.
Yes, they said that's right. Yeah, so it's like
they sent him home.
That's a red flag. It's like, wait, you come from Bama, you're a great player,
but the thing about Reuben Foster is he's very charming. I don't know why he flipped that time. Clearly, he has flipped a few times. Maybe he's got some trauma in his life, whatever. But he's very charming, and most of the time you hang around with him, he's just wonderful. He smiles, he engages, looks you in the eye, says your name. He's funny. So maybe he is a good guy, but the Niners banked on him being basically misunderstood and not self-destructive. But I think they're wrong.
Yeah, now the Niners are going just like, even if there's just a sliver of just like, we're not sure or anything like that. No, that's why you get the Trey Lance guys. Because no matter what, even the way he handled it on Super Bowl week and post after that about like Brock Purdy's team, what do you think? Like, oh yeah, Brock's the lead. I got to fight for it. Like, it's like, that's the kind of guy they want. It's like, wow, this guy was crowned the starter last year and he's not crying. He's not, he's not complaining. He's just like, yeah, I'm just going to get out there and put the work in and try to beat him and try to take it back. So it's like, all right, cool. That's exactly what you want to hear. You don't want to hear someone moping around. You want to hear, like, I got to go back out there and get it.
Also, I think there's a little bit of, if we're being honest, there's a little bit of PTSD or a little, whatever you want to call it, overcorrection from the Kaepernick era. Like, Kaepernick didn't really like to talk to the press. He was a little surly. He didn't even like to talk to a lot of his teammates, would walk around the facility with the Beats headphones on, became very political. I think the team appreciated Jimmy for just being silent and being bland. And with Trey, I think the organization appreciates him for being so eager to learn and so eager to please. Those kind of things. And maybe those won't necessarily make him be a great quarterback, but I think these are all personality traits the Niners are drawn to, given their experiences the last 10 years, especially through the Harbaugh years. I really think Jed York and the Yorks found that to be a tough time for them.
Yeah.
Even though they're winning. Because they weren't winning with class. They were winning with like a team that...
At all. Yeah. Last thing you want to hear about is like sometimes like, oh, your player just went AWOL or did something and it's like all of a sudden...
Again? It's like, oh...